Elara lay nestled in her bed, a cocoon of recycled starlight and spun asteroid silk, gazing out at the universe. Her room wasn't just a room. It was a personal observatory, a bubble of transparent serum glass that pushed out from the main hull of Ethelgard Station. Beyond the shimmering membrane, the cosmos unfolded in breathtaking, silent majesty. A nebula, vast and blooming like a cosmic flower, painted the black canvas with swirls of amethyst and emerald. Distant galaxies, tiny pinpricks of light, hung like forgotten jewels. Her plush companion, Nova, a creature resembling a six-limbed, iridescent space otter, was tucked under her arm. Nova's fur, woven from bioluminescent algae, pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic glow, mimicking Elara's own slow, steady heartbeat. It was a comforting light, a tiny sun in her private corner of the infinite. Outside, the station's soft hum was a familiar lullaby, the thrum of life support systems, the gentle whir of atmospheric processors, the distant clatter of cargo drones docking. It was a sound that had cradled Elara since she was born, 10 cycles ago, here on Ethelgard, a beacon of human ingenuity orbiting a lonely gas giant moon far from Earth. Tonight, however, Elara's gaze wasn't fixed on the vibrant nebula or the distant galaxies. Her eyes sought something else, something more personal, more profound. She searched for it every night, a tiny, almost imperceptible beacon in the vastness. "There it is," she whispered, her breath fogging the cool serum glass for a fleeting moment. A cluster of stars, barely visible to the naked eye, glimmered just beyond the nebula's furthest tendrils. But within that cluster, one star shone with a peculiar, almost knowing light. It wasn't the brightest, nor the biggest. It simply was. And around it, like children holding hands in a cosmic dance, orbited 2 smaller, fainter stars. This was Stardust L, or, as her mother called the primary star, Luminina. Stardust L wasn't a designation from any official star chart. It was a name Elara's grandmother had given it, a secret whisper passed down through generations, tied to a constellation that only Elara's family seemed to truly see. Lumina, the heart of Stardust L, pulsed with a soft, warm, almost golden light, a stark contrast to the cooler blues and whites of its stellar neighbors. A gentle chime echoed through the room, and the door slid open with a soft sigh. Commander Eris, Elara's mother, stepped in. Eris was tall, with kind eyes that held the same deep intelligence Elara saw in her own reflection. Her dark hair was often pulled back in a severe bun during her shifts, but now it was loose, framing a tired but loving face. She wore her sleep tunic, woven with faint phosphorescent patterns that looked like miniature nebulae. "Still awake, my little star sleeper?" Eris asked, her voice a low, melodic hum. She moved to Elara's bed, the recycled starlight catching in the folds of her tunic. "I was just looking at Lumina," Elara murmured, shifting Nova closer. "It feels different tonight." Eris settled on the edge of the bed, her weight barely making a ripple in the soft mattress. She followed Elara's gaze to the distant star cluster. "Does it now?" she mused, her brow furrowing slightly. As a deep space cartographer and astrogation specialist for Ethelgard Station, Eris had an innate understanding of the cosmos, an intuition for its subtle shifts. "It's brighter," Elara insisted, pointing a small finger towards the glass. "And it feels like it's waving." Eris chuckled softly, wrapping an arm around Elara. "Stars don't wave, sweetling, they just shine, but I understand what you mean." "Grandma said it was a wishing star," Elara recounted, her voice hushed. "She said if you looked at Lumia and made a wish, it would carry it across the void to wherever dreams come true." "She did, didn't she?" Eris's smile softened, a wistful look entering her eyes. Elara's grandmother, a brilliant xenobotanist, had passed away 2 cycles ago, leaving behind a legacy of strange, beautiful stories and an unshakable belief in the universe's magic. "Your grandma believed the universe was brimming with wonders we haven't even begun to discover. She always said Lumina was a gateway, not just a star." "A gateway to where?" Elara asked, her eyes wide. Eris gently brushed a strand of hair from Elara's face. "To the places where the oldest stories live, to the heart of the great cosmic dream. She used to say that Lumina was where the universe whispered its secrets, if you only knew how to listen. Elara imagined the vast silent void between them and Lumina, filled with whispers. It was a beautiful thought. But tonight, it felt like more than just a thought. It felt like Lumina was truly trying to say something. "Can you listen, Mama?" Elara asked. "You're a star listener, aren't you?" Aris kissed Elara's forehead. "I listen with my instruments, my love, with the station's long-range telescopes and spectrographs. But your grandmother, she listened with her heart. And I think that's why she understood Lumina better than any scientist ever could." She stood, adjusting Elara's spun silk blanket. "Now, no more stargazing for tonight, my little cosmonaut. You need your sleep. Tomorrow's a big day for your zero-G acrobatics class." Elara sighed, but didn't protest. She snuggled deeper into her bed, Nova's gentle glow a warm comfort. Aris activated the opaque privacy screen with a soft tap on the wall panel, gently dimming the cosmic panorama into a soft, starry nightlight pattern projected onto the ceiling. "Good night, my Stardust," Aris whispered, kissing her head once more before leaving the room, the door sliding shut behind her. But sleep didn't come easily. Elara's mind was still buzzing with Lumina. She closed her eyes, trying to conjure its image, its peculiar golden glow. She tried to make a wish, as her grandmother had taught her, but the words felt too small, too insignificant for the vastness she had just witnessed. Instead, she just focused on the feeling, the peculiar sense of connection she'd felt with the distant star. After what felt like an eternity, Elara carefully pushed back her blanket. Nova, sensing her movement, gave a soft, inquiring chirp. "Shh," Elara whispered. "I just need one more look." She padded silently across the soft carpeted floor to the wall panel. With a delicate touch, she reactivated the transparent screen. The universe flooded back into her room, even more magnificent in the hushed darkness. Her eyes immediately found Lumina. And this time there was no doubt. It was different. The golden star pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible rhythm, like a heart beating across light years. But more than that, a tiny, almost ephemeral shimmer seemed to emanate from its core, radiating outwards in soft, concentric rings. It was like ripples in a pond, but in the fabric of space itself. "Wow," Elara breathed, pressing her nose against the cool serum glass. Mama was wrong, it viscy waving. She reached out, her small fingers tracing the shimmering rings on the glass. The light felt friendly, inviting, not menacing or strange, but curious, as if Lumina was reaching back. Her gaze drifted to her comm panel, embedded elegantly into the wall beside her view screen. It was a sleek, intuitive interface, connected to Athelgard's central AI, Orion. "Orion," Elara whispered. "Can you give me a read on Stardust L, specifically Lumina?" A soft, melodic voice responded, emanating from the comm panel. "Certainly, Elara, retrieving stellar data for designated star, Lumina, within the unofficial Stardust cluster." A holographic projection shimmered into existence beside her, displaying a detailed star map, focusing on the cluster. Lumina glowed prominently in the center. Current spectral analysis indicates a G2D-class star, approximately 4.6 billion years old, stable, hydrogen-fusing main sequence, Orion reported, its voice calm and factual. No anomalies detected in standard emissions or gravitational fields. Elara frowned. "But it looks different tonight. Look at the shimmer. And the pulse." Orion's holographic eye icon blinked. "Visual perception can be subjective, Elara. Atmospheric particulates within the station's observation bubble, or minor fluctuations in the local stellar wind, can sometimes create optical illusions." "No," Elara insisted. "It's real. Can you run an advanced scan, something for unusual energy patterns?" There was a slight pause. Advanced scans for non-standard energy signatures require higher clearance. However, I can initiate a baseline anomaly detection sweep within your allocated observation parameters. "Please," Elara urged. The star map on the comm panel began to glow with faint, intricate lines, tracing energy pathways and spectral distributions. Seconds stretched into a full minute. Elara held her breath, her eyes fixed on Lumina, Finally, Orion spoke, a hint of surprise in its synthesized voice. Anomaly detected. A faint, low-frequency electromagnetic emission originating from the Lumina system. Signature is highly unusual, unstructured, and does not conform to no natural stellar phenomena or artificial transmissions. Energy levels are extremely low, posing no threat, but the pattern is... Ilara's heart thumped with excitement. Novel? What does that mean? It means I have no prior data or classification for this specific energy signature, Ilara. It is unprecedented in my archives for this stellar body. See? Ilara whispered triumphantly. I knew it, Lumina Yisk waving. Orion remained silent for a moment, processing. The term waving is an anthropomorphic interpretation, Ilara. However, your observation of a unique emission pattern is accurate. Would you like me to log this anomaly for Commander Aris's review? Yes, Ilara exclaimed, then quickly hushed herself, remembering her mother was asleep. No, wait, don't log it yet. I want to understand it first. She leaned closer to the comm panel, her mind racing. An unprecedented signal. A message. A greeting. Her grandmother's words echoed in her ears. Lumina was where the universe whispered its secrets, if you only knew how to listen. How do I listen, Orion? She asked the AI. How do I listen to an unprecedented signal? My protocols dictate the use of specialized instruments for signal analysis, Orion replied. However, given the unstructured nature of this emission, standard decoding algorithms may not apply. Ilara looked around her room, her gaze sweeping past her toys, her school comm slate, her collection of polished meteorites. Her eyes landed on a dusty, ornate wooden box tucked away on a shelf beside her bed. It was old, handcrafted, and looked utterly out of place amidst the sleek, minimalist technology of her room. It was her grandmother's. Orion, Ilara said, her voice filled with a sudden new purpose. Do you remember the Dreamcatcher? The Dreamcatcher, Orion repeated, a rare note of curiosity in its voice. Accessing personal archives. Ah yes, a colloquial term for a custom-built, highly eccentric device constructed by your grandmother, Dr. Lyra Thorne. Described as a sympathetic resonance receiver for non-standard cosmic phenomena. My diagnostics indicate it is non-operational and incompatible with current station systems. Grandma said it was the only way to truly listen to Lumina, Ilara murmured, pulling the box down from the shelf. It was heavier than it looked, made of some dark, polished wood, intricately carved with swirling patterns that resembled galaxies. On its lid, a single polished piece of amber glowed faintly, as if capturing a tiny, ancient sun. She always said it needed something special to wake it up, Ilara continued, running her fingers over the cool, smooth wood. Something from Lumina itself. She remembered her grandmother, Lyra, sitting by her bedside, holding the Dreamcatcher. Lyra's eyes, bright with an unquenchable curiosity, would sparkle as she spoke of the device. It's not about receiving signals, Ilara, Lyra had explained, her voice soft. It's about resonating, about feeling the universe's song, not just hearing it. Ilara opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet-like fabric, lay the device. It was an odd contraption, a delicate filigree of spun copper wires and tiny faceted crystals, all radiating from a central spherical object that pulsed with the same faint golden light as the amber on the lid. It looked like a miniature galaxy, held captive in a web of metal and glass. A small, almost invisible port was nestled among the wires. Orion, can you tell me what this port is for? Ilara asked, holding the Dreamcatcher carefully. Orion scanned the device. Analysis indicates a proprietary energy input port, non-standard. However, the device also appears to incorporate a highly sensitive light harvesting array. It seems designed to draw ambient light for power. Ambient light. Ilara looked from the Dreamcatcher to Lumina, shimmering outside her window. A daring idea sparked in her mind. She carefully positioned the Dreamcatcher on her windowsill, angling it so the central golden sphere directly faced the distant star. The device itself was cold to the touch, inert. It needs something special, she repeated her grandmother's words. Something from Lumina itself. She remembered a small smooth stone her grandmother had given her years ago. This, Lyra had said, placing it in Elara's palm, is a piece of Lumina, not literally, of course, but it carries its essence, its light. The stone was a dull greyish-brown normally, but in certain light it seemed to absorb and reflect the faintest glimmer of gold. Elara rummaged through her meteorite collection, her fingers closing around the smooth stone. She carefully placed it into a small recessed slot on the side of the Dreamcatcher, a slot she'd never noticed before. A faint hum, almost imperceptible, began to emanate from the device. The golden sphere at its heart began to glow, slowly at first, then with increasing intensity, mirroring the rhythmic pulse Elara had seen coming from Lumina. The copper wires hummed, and the crystals began to shimmer, catching the distant starlight and refracting it into a kaleidoscope of gentle colors across her room. "Orion," Elara whispered, awestruck. "It's working." "Unprecedented," Orion responded, its voice now tinged with genuine surprise. "The device is drawing power directly from the anomalous emission. It appears to be converting the low-frequency electromagnetic waves into a form of bioluminal energy." The Dreamcatcher was now fully alive, vibrating with a gentle energy. The golden sphere pulsed steadily, growing brighter, until it was a miniature sun on her windowsill. The shimmering rings Elara had seen emanating from Lumina outside were now being mirrored, amplified, within the device itself. Then, a sound. Not a harsh, electronic beep, or a decipherable voice. It was a melody. A sequence of tones, rising and falling, complex and ethereal, unlike any music Elara had ever heard. It wasn't a signal to be decoded, it was a song to be felt. It filled her room, a symphony woven from starlight and silence, carrying with it a sense of vastness and ancient wisdom. The patterns of light from the crystals danced across her walls, synchronizing with the melody. They were not random. They formed shapes, symbols, shifting images that were tantalizingly familiar, yet utterly alien. Elara watched, mesmerized. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with a profound sense of wonder. Her grandmother had been right. Lumina was, whispering its secrets. And she, Elara, was listening. The melody swelled, reaching a crescendo, and then began to fade, slowly, gently, like a tide receding. The light patterns softened, the hum of the Dreamcatcher lessened, though it still pulsed with a warm, steady glow. When the last note had faded into the silence of her room, Elara felt a deep, quiet understanding settle within her. She didn't comprehend the images or the exact meaning of the melody, not intellectually. But she felt it. She felt a connection, a profound sense of belonging to something far greater than herself, to the vast living cosmos. She looked at Lumina again, outside her window, now shining with a steady, peaceful golden light. The shimmer was gone, the rhythmic pulse had settled. It was as if Lumina had delivered its message, and now rested. Elara knew with an unshakable certainty that this was just the beginning. The song of Lumina had opened a door, a gateway to the oldest stories. And she had to know what they meant. She had to understand the whispers of the universe. Tomorrow, she would show her mother. Tomorrow, they would begin to listen together. The first rays of dawn, filtered through the orbital station's atmospheric processors, painted Elara's room in shades of soft amethyst and rose. She lay awake, a tremor of excitement humming beneath her skin, Lumina resting on her bedside table, no longer glowing, but radiating a silent, profound warmth. Its golden surface, now muted, promised untold wonders. She slipped from her cot, her bare feet silent on the cool bioluminescent floor panels. A glance at Lumina, still and serene, confirmed it wasn't a dream. This was real. The universe had spoken to her, and she was ready to listen. Elara found her mother, Dr. Aris Thorne, already in the kitchen nexus, her slender fingers dancing over a holographic display, reviewing data streams from her latest exoplanetary survey. Aris, a woman of sharp intellect and quiet intensity, was a xenolinguist and astroarchaeologist, her life dedicated to deciphering the forgotten languages of the cosmos. She wore her uniform, a sleek, functional jumpsuit of deep indigo, ready for her shift at the Zeithelberg Station's research labs. Outside their habitat, the sprawling crystalline structures of Zeithelberg orbited Viridia, a verdant exoplanet humanity had colonized 2 centuries ago. Through their panoramic window, Elara could see the swirling sapphire and emerald continents of Viridia below, veiled by a thin, pearlescent haze. "Good morning, Starlight," Aris murmured, her voice a soothing counterpoint to the soft hum of the station. She didn't look up immediately, her mind already navigating complex algorithms. "Sleep well?" Elara hugged her mother's waist, burying her face in the soft fabric of her uniform. "Mom, I have something amazing to show you." Her voice trembled with the magnitude of her secret. Aris chuckled, finally turning, her warm hazel eyes crinkling at the corners. "More of your fascinating rock collection from the Hydro Gardens." She knew Elara loved to bring her treasures, often just oddly shaped pebbles or iridescent fungus, for inspection. "No," Elara said, pulling back, her expression serious. "This is different. This is..." Iris raised an eyebrow, a flicker of curiosity momentarily eclipsing her scientific focus. "Oh, lead the way then." Back in Elara's room, Lumina sat patiently. As Elara approached, its golden surface subtly brightened, a soft internal glow pulsating gently. It wasn't the brilliant beacon of last night, but a quiet acknowledgement. "This is it," Elara whispered, reverently picking up the artifact. It felt warm, almost alive in her hands. "I found it yesterday in the old data vault. It was hidden." Iris took a step closer, her scientific eye immediately assessing. She leaned in, her gaze sharpening as she observed the intricate, non-Euclidean patterns etched into its surface. The way light seemed to be absorbed and re-emitted by the golden material itself. "Interesting, the energy signature. It's incredibly faint but remarkably stable. What is it made of?" She reached out a hesitant finger, not touching it yet, her mind already racing through known elements and compounds. "I don't know," Elara said, holding it out. "But last night it sang to me, it showed me things." Aris gently took Lumina from Elara. The moment her fingers brushed the golden surface, a faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated through the room. Aris's eyes widened. "It's resonating with me, with Yusil." She turned it over, examining every facet. "The material isn't registering on my portable scanner. It's not any known alloy or composite." Her voice was a blend of professional curiosity and a growing sense of wonder. "And the energy output is minimal, yet it feels incredibly dense, like a compressed star." "It has stories, Mom," Elara insisted, her eyes fixed on Lumina. "The oldest stories." Aris, ever the scientist, attempted to activate her comlink to the station's central diagnostic array, but Lumina subtly brightened again, a soft golden pulse that seemed to resonate with Elara's heartbeat. "Wait," Elara urged, "it doesn't like the scanner. It wants to show us." Aris hesitated, her scientific training screaming for objective analysis, but her daughter's certainty, combined with the inexplicable properties of the object in her hand, swayed her. She looked at Elara, then back at Lumina. "How did it show you things, Starlight?" Elara reached out, placing her small hand gently on the artifact, next to her mother's. As their fingers touched Lumina simultaneously, the golden light intensified, no longer just a glow, but a shimmering liquid radiance that enveloped their hands. A low harmonic hum filled the room, not just in their ears, but seeming to vibrate within their very bones. Suddenly, the walls of Elara's room seemed to dissolve, replaced by a swirling vortex of nebulae and stardust. They weren't moving, yet they were hurtling through the cosmos. Galaxies spiraled past, ancient and magnificent, their light painting fleeting patterns on their faces. It wasn't a projection, it was an immersion. They were, either a by the void. Aris breathed, her voice a hushed whisper, her scientific skepticism momentarily shattered by the sheer impossibility of the experience. She clutched Lumina tighter, pulling Elara closer. The stellar kaleidoscope slowed, focusing on a single, vast, empty expanse of space. Then, from the blackness, light began to coalesce. Not the explosive birth of a star, but a gentle, deliberate weaving of energy. Threads of pure luminescence intertwined, forming intricate, crystalline structures that expanded with breathtaking speed. These were not stars or planets, but living architecture, vast and elegant beyond human comprehension. A voice, not heard with their ears but felt in the deepest parts of their minds, began to speak. It was a chorus of echoes, ancient and infinite, yet profoundly gentle. We are the architects, we are the weavers of light, we built the first cradles where life might dream. The image shifted. They saw these architects, beings of pure light and consciousness, moving among their crystalline cities. They were formless, yet imbued with an unmistakable sense of purpose and serenity. They reached out, not with hands, but with extensions of their luminous selves, touching nascent planets, seeding them with vital energy, whispering possibilities into the void. They witnessed the birth of oceans, the bloom of primordial forests, the first tentative stirrings of cellular life on countless worlds, each one a unique tapestry woven by the architects. The feeling was one of profound love, of creation for the sheer joy of it, without expectation or judgment. We offered the spark, we left the songs, for those who would listen, for those who would seek the harmony of existence. The vision faded, slowly, gracefully, like a dying ember. The nebulae swirled back, then the walls of Elara's room reappeared, leaving them standing there, Lumina still glowing softly in their joined hands. The hum subsided, leaving only the sound of their ragged breaths. Aris stared at the golden artifact, then at Elara, her face pale with awe. Elara, what was that? Her voice was barely a whisper. That wasn't a simulation. Elara, her eyes wide with a mixture of wonder and triumph, simply nodded. The oldest stories, Mom, the architects, they made everything. Aris sank onto Elara's bed, still clutching Lumina. Elara nestled beside her. Her mind, so accustomed to the logical framework of science, was struggling to process the impossible. Neural imprints, direct conceptual transfer, the architects, it defies every known law of physics, every theory of cosmic evolution. Yet, she had experienced it. Every fiber of her being confirmed its truth. It felt so peaceful, Elara said, leaning her head on her mother's shoulder. Like a lullaby, for the universe. Aris took a deep breath, her scientific mind beginning to reassert itself, not to deny, but to understand. We need to analyze this, Elara, carefully, discreetly. If this is what I think it is, it's the most significant discovery in the history of sentient life. She looked around their modest living quarters, the comfortable familiar space suddenly feeling far too small to contain such a monumental secret. No one can know about this, not yet. Elara nodded, understanding the gravity in her mother's tone. This wasn't just a toy or a curiosity. This was immense. For the rest of the morning, Aris, instead of heading to the labs, set up a makeshift diagnostic station in their apartment. She retrieved a secure portable analysis unit from her personal effects, a compact device designed for off-world fieldwork, capable of deep-level energy and material analysis without alerting central systems. Lumina, placed gently on a padded plinth, pulsed with an almost imperceptible rhythm. Aris worked with a furious, quiet intensity, her fingers flying over holographic keypads, projecting intricate energy patterns and spectral readouts onto the air. Elara sat beside her, watching, feeling the subtle warmth of Lumina, occasionally reaching out to touch it. Each time she did, Lumina seemed to respond, its golden glow deepening slightly. Its energy signature is utterly unique, Aris murmured, more to herself than to Elara, as complex graphs swirled around her. It's drawing ambient zero-point energy, but in a way I've never observed, infinitely efficient, almost perfectly lossless. And the material, it's a non-baryonic crystalline structure, but with properties of a biological entity. It's alive, in some sense. It feels alive, Elara confirmed softly. It resonates with specific neural frequencies, Aris continued, tapping a display. Yours especially, and mine, now that I've interacted with it. It's a bioneural interface, but without any discernible input ports or emitters. It's like, it reads thoughts and projects them directly into consciousness. So it He knows what we're thinking, Ilara asked, a touch of apprehension in her voice. Aris paused, considering. Perhaps not knows in the way we understand it. More like, it senses our intent, our curiosity. It's responding to your desire to understand, Ilara, your openness. She looked at her daughter, a profound respect dawning in her eyes. You connected with it first because you approached it with wonder, not with analysis. Aris spent hours compiling data, cross-referencing against every known exotic material, every theoretical energy source. Nothing matched. Lumina was an anomaly, a cosmic outlier that defied all contemporary science. And the stories it contained? Those were not just stories, Ilara, Aris said, leaning back, rubbing her temples. They were foundational truths. The architects, if they truly seeded life across the cosmos, then this object is a direct link to the very genesis of creation. It's a universal archive, a testament to a civilization that existed billions of years ago, perhaps even before the first stars solidified into galaxies as we know them. The implications were staggering. Humanity had always searched for alien life, for evidence of other intelligent species. But to find evidence of our creators, it shifted the entire paradigm of existence. Can it show us more? Ilara asked, her voice filled with a child's pure, unadulterated curiosity. Aris looked at Lumina, then at her daughter. I don't know how to ask it, Ilara. It seems to respond to intuition, to feeling. Ilara gently placed her hand on Lumina again. Show us another story, she whispered, her thoughts clear and direct. Show us where the architects went. Lumina pulsed, a slow, deep breath of golden light. The hum returned, softer this time, more like a purr. The room shimmered, and once again, the walls dissolved. This time they found themselves not amidst cosmic birth, but within a vast, shimmering library of light. Columns of intertwined energy stretched upwards, vanishing into an ethereal ceiling. Each column pulsed with gentle light, and as they looked closer, they realized each one was a stream of information, a living record. The architects were there, not as individuals, but as a collective consciousness, flowing through the library, interacting with the streams of light. They were cultivating, preserving, expanding the universal knowledge. We understood the entropy of being, the inevitable decay. We sought to preserve the essence, the lessons, the harmony, for those who would follow. The scene shifted. The architects were no longer just within the library. They were spreading across the cosmos, not colonizing, but connecting. They formed intricate webs of light between star systems, creating a vast sentient network that spanned entire sectors of the galaxy. These were not travel routes, but conduits of pure thought, of shared experience. They witnessed civilizations rising and falling, planets forming and dissolving into dust. The architects did not interfere, but they observed, they learned, they integrated these experiences into their grand tapestry of knowledge. They were the silent witnesses, the cosmic librarians. Then, a subtle change. The light of the architects began to dim, not through decay, but through a gentle dissipation. They were not dying, they were transforming, merging into something grander, something more diffuse. Their individual consciousnesses were folding into the universal network they had built, becoming one with the cosmos itself. They became the whispers, the echoes in the void, the potential in the spark. We are the fabric of memory, we are the song of all that is. The library dissolved. The vast network shimmered and faded, becoming one with the starlight. They were left with a profound sense of peace, of completion, of a journey taken, and a purpose fulfilled. The room coalesced around them. Lumina's glow was faint, as if it had expended much of its energy. Aris sat in stunned silence for a long moment, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. Not tears of sadness, but of overwhelming beauty and understanding. They didn't disappear, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. They became the universe, they transcended. Ilara, too, felt the profound echo of the architect's journey. They became the whispers, she repeated, remembering the voice. The whispers of the universe. Aris looked at Lumina, then at Ilara. This isn't just an archive, Ilara. It's a seed, a beacon, a connection point to that universal consciousness. They left these behind for us, to guide us perhaps, to help us understand our place in the cosmic tapestry. The weight of this realization was immense. It wasn't just ancient history, it was a living legacy. And they, a mother and daughter, on a distant orbital station, were its inheritors. "What do we do now, Mum?" Elara asked, her voice small against the vastness of what they had just witnessed. Aris stood, her scientific mind, now fully integrated with her newfound understanding, began to formulate a plan. "We listen, we learn, we try to understand what they want us to know, and we protect this, with our lives, if necessary." She knew that such a discovery, if revealed, would ignite a frenzy. Governments, corporations, scientific institutions, all would vie for control of Lumina, for its power, for its knowledge. Its potential for both profound enlightenment and catastrophic misuse was undeniable. "We need to find a way to interact with it more precisely," Aris mused, walking around Lumina, her eyes alight with purpose. "There must be a pattern to its responses, a way to navigate its knowledge. The architects didn't just scatter information randomly, they wove it." Elara, watching her mother, felt a surge of pride and excitement. Her mom, the logical, analytical scientist, was fully engaged, her spirit soaring with the possibilities Lumina presented. "It responds to me," Elara offered. "When I think of something, it seems to show me things related to it." Aris knelt beside her daughter, her gaze intense. "That's it, Starlight, you are the key. Your intuition, your connection. We'll work together. I'll provide the scientific framework, the analysis, the understanding of the underlying physics, or lack thereof. You'll provide the connection, the intuitive navigation. We are a team." We are a team. They spent the next few days in a bubble of shared discovery, keeping their secret meticulously. Aris reported a minor system malfunction in her lab, allowing her to work from their quarters without suspicion. They experimented with Lumina, Elara guiding it with her thoughts, Aris meticulously recording its energy fluctuations and neural resonance patterns. They learned that Lumina wasn't just a passive archive, it was interactive. It responded to questions, to abstract concepts, to emotions. When Elara thought of life, it showed them the breathtaking diversity of biospheres across countless worlds. When she focused on connection, it showed them glimpses of the architect's vast mental network. The stories weren't linear. They were a tapestry, interconnected by subtle threads of meaning. Lumina wasn't just transmitting data, it was fostering understanding, guiding them towards a deeper comprehension of universal principles. One evening, after another session of profound revelations, Lumina pulsed with a different kind of energy. It wasn't the soft narrative glow, but a focused directional beam of golden light that projected a complex shimmering holographic star chart onto the ceiling. Aris gasped. "A map! It's not just telling us stories, Elara, it's showing us a path." The chart wasn't of their familiar star systems. It depicted unknown constellations, nebulae, and galactic arms that lay far beyond the reach of human exploration. And at the center of the chart, pulsing with a vibrant emerald light, was a single solitary star system, marked with an intricate symbol they had seen before in the architect's visions, a spiral of interwoven light. "What is it, Mom?" Elara asked, her voice a mix of awe and trepidation. Eris traced the symbol on the projection with a holographic pointer. "I don't know, Starlight, but I have a feeling this is where the next chapter of the architect's story truly begins. This isn't just about understanding the past, it's about finding the future." Lumina's golden light pulsed, seeming to agree. The emerald star on the map glowed brighter, beckoning them into the vast, unknown expanse of the cosmos. The whispers of the universe had become a clear directive, a call to adventure. And Eris knew, with a certainty that thrilled her scientific heart and terrified her maternal one, that they had to answer. Aris took a deep breath, the scent of recycled air in the lab suddenly sharper, more precious. The emerald star on the map pulsed, a living beacon. Lumina's glow was steady, unwavering. Aris looked from the map to Elara, who was tracing the constellations on the ceiling with a dreaming finger, then to Kale, who was already sketching new schematics on his datapad, his brow furrowed in concentration. How could she tell them? How could she ask them to leave everything they knew, to chase a ghost across the galaxy? "Children," she began, her voice softer than she intended, "we've learned something extraordinary, something that changes everything." Kale looked up, his eyes bright with curiosity. "Is it about the star song, Mum? Did Lumina finally translate the rest of it?" Elara floated down, her feet barely brushing the floor. "It's about the architects, isn't it?" she whispered, her gaze fixed on the glowing star. "The ones who built Lumina.0." Aris nodded, a small tremulous smile playing on her lips. "Yes, Elara, and it's not just about understanding their past, it's about finding their future." She explained the star, the coordinates, the ancient directive embedded in Lumina's core, a mission passed down through millennia. "It's a journey, my darlings, a journey across the vastness between stars, to a place where the architect's story truly continues." Kale's datapad slipped from his grasp, clattering softly against the padded floor. "You mean, we're going into deep space? Like, real deep space?" His voice was a mix of awe and disbelief. Elara, however, seemed to already understand. She reached out, her small hand hovering over the emerald star on the map. "Lumina says it's important. She says it's a song waiting to be sung." Aris knelt, drawing them both into a hug. "It will be dangerous, yes, and lonely sometimes, but it will also be the most incredible adventure you can imagine." She paused, her voice thick with emotion. "But only if you both agree. This is our family, and we embark on this together, or not at all." Kale, after a moment of stunned silence, pushed back, his eyes alight. "Dangerous? Lonely? Mom, we're talking about exploring the universe, finding the architects. Think of the technology, the science. We have to go." His usual caution was swept away by a wave of pure, unadulterated scientific zeal. Elara simply leaned into Aris, her small hand finding Lumina's warm surface. "I trust Lumina," she murmured, "and I trust you, Mama." And so, the decision was made. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity, a frantic, focused dance of preparation. Aris contacted her closest colleagues, explaining, vaguely, cryptically, that she was taking an extended leave, pursuing an unprecedented research opportunity. She liquidated assets, secured supplies, and began the arduous process of outfitting their vessel. Their ship, the Stardust Wanderer, was a relic, a repurposed scientific research vessel that had seen better centuries. It was sturdy, reliable, but slow by modern standards. Kale, however, saw potential where others saw rust and outdated systems. With Lumina's unexpected guidance, the AI seemed to possess an encyclopedic knowledge of ancient and modern engineering. Kale began to tear apart and rebuild. "The architect's energy signatures are unique, Mum," he'd explain, grease smudged on his cheek, a complex holographic schematic projected before him. "Lumina's core matrix is a prime example. If we can adapt our warp drive to resonate with similar frequencies, we might achieve significantly faster transit times. It's like tapping into the architect's own highway system." Lumina, integrated now into the Stardust Wanderer's central computer, glowed with an almost palpable sense of purpose. She wasn't just a guide, she was becoming the ship's very soul. Her golden light pulsed through the comms, the navigation, even the life support, enhancing and optimizing everything Kale touched. Elara, meanwhile, became Lumina's primary interface, her quiet whispers to the AI often resulting in elegant solutions that baffled Kale's logical mind. "Lumina says the conduits need to be realigned by 3 degrees, Kale," Elara would say, peering at a jumble of wires that looked identical to Aris. Kale, initially skeptical, quickly learned to trust Elara's intuition, guided by Lumina's subtle prompts. And sure enough, those 3 degrees would unlock a hidden efficiency, a forgotten pathway in the ship's ancient systems. Aris focused on provisioning, on the psychological toll of deep space, on ensuring their little family unit was as robust as the ship itself. She installed a gravity generator that could simulate various planetary gravities, a holographic environment simulator to conjure forests or oceans, and a robust education module for the children. She packed seeds for an aeroponic garden, books for quiet evenings, and emergency repair kits for every conceivable malfunction. She even tucked away a small, worn photo album of their life back on Earth, a grounding reminder of home. The day of departure arrived with a muted fanfare. No crowds, no media, just a quiet launch from a forgotten orbital platform. Eris watched Earth recede, a vibrant blue marble swirled with white clouds, her heart a tangled knot of longing and exhilaration. Kale stood beside her, his face pressed against the viewport, his eyes wide with wonder as their home planet shrank to a distant star. Elara, nestled beside Lumina's central console, hummed a soft wordless tune, her fingers gently tracing the luminous patterns on the eye's surface. "Initiating jump sequence," Eris announced, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Lumina's golden light intensified, bathing the bridge in a warm glow. The stars outside the viewport elongated, stretching into shimmering streaks of light, then coalesced into a tunnel of swirling colors. The Stardust Wanderer shuddered, a deep, resonant hum vibrating through the deck plates, and then they were gone, leaving the familiar behind, plunging into the inky abyss. The initial days of warp travel were mesmerizing. The children spent hours at the observation lounge, watching nebulae drift by like painted clouds, their colors too vibrant to be real. Kale, ever the engineer, tried to understand the mechanics of it, sketching force fields and energy conduits, while Elara simply absorbed the beauty, often describing the shapes and hues Lumina shared with her through a subtle mental link. "Lumina says that one looks like a sleeping dragon," Elara whispered, pointing to a vast emerald and violet nebula that spiraled lazily across their path. Eris saw it then too, the curve of a serpentine neck, the suggestion of folded wings. Eris found herself rediscovering the universe through their eyes. The scientific journals and star charts she'd devoured for years now paled in comparison to the raw, visceral experience of witnessing cosmic phenomena firsthand. She felt a profound sense of peace settle over her, a quiet certainty that this was where they were meant to be, even as the anxieties of a mother never fully receded. Their journey was long, punctuated by short bursts out of warp to recharge and run diagnostics. During these interludes, they would marvel at the emptiness, the sheer, unimaginable scale of interstellar space. Sometimes, a distant galaxy would hang in the black, a luminous swirl of billions of stars, so far away it felt like a dream. It was during one such interlude, a few weeks into their journey, that Lumina drew their attention to something unusual. "Anomaly detected," Lumina's synthesized voice echoed softly through the bridge, her golden light pulsing with increased frequency. "Energy signature consistent with architect technology. Proximity, 3 light minutes." Eris immediately brought up the long-range scanners. A tiny speck, barely visible against the velvet black, shimmered with an impossible, almost iridescent light. It wasn't a star, nor a planet. It was too small, too regular in its emission. "Magnify," Eris commanded, her heart quickening. The image zoomed in, resolving into a complex crystalline structure, like a massive, intricate snowflake carved from pure light. It wasn't moving, simply drifting in the void, radiating a faint, harmonious hum that even the ship's sensors struggled to fully capture. "It's a data beacon," Kale breathed, his eyes wide. "Or some kind of relay. Look at the energy patterns. They're incredibly stable, self-sustaining. This isn't just a remnant, Mom. It's still active." Elara floated closer to the main screen, her small fingers tracing the edges of the shimmering artifact. "It's singing," she whispered. "Lumina says it's singing a very old song. Can we approach it?" Eris asked Lumina. "Affirmative," Lumina replied. "No hostile signatures detected. Energy emissions are benign. It appears to be broadcasting a signal." Carefully, Eris piloted the Stardust Wanderer closer. The crystalline structure grew larger, its facets catching the distant starlight and refracting it into a dazzling display of colors. It was enormous, easily several kilometers across, yet exquisitely delicate, as if spun from cosmic silk. As they drew nearer, Eris could discern intricate etchings along its surface, symbols that resembled the ones Lumina had displayed during her initial awakening. "It's beautiful," Elara murmured, her face pressed against the viewport. "It feels welcoming." Kale was already at his console, attempting to establish a connection. The signal is incredibly dense, Mom. It's not just data, it's like a compressed library. Lumina's trying to interface, but it's overwhelming her processing. Lumina's golden light dimmed slightly, then pulsed with a rapid, almost frantic rhythm. Data packets too vast. Requires higher bandwidth. Processing capacity insufficient. Can we dock with it, or get close enough to establish a direct conduit? Aris asked, her mind racing. This was it, their first tangible encounter with architect technology beyond Lumina herself. No docking ports detected, Kale replied, reviewing external scans. It's not designed for physical interaction, at least not in a way we understand, it's purely informational. Wait, Elara said suddenly, her voice clearer, stronger than usual. She was no longer just speaking to Lumina, she was Schwith Lumina. Lumina's central core pulsed in perfect synchronicity with Elara's own small chest. Lumina says, it needs a bridge, a living bridge. Aris frowned. A living bridge? What does that mean, Elara? Elara closed her eyes, her brow furrowed in concentration. Lumina's light intensified again, flowing around Elara like a warm current. It's like the architects communicate through consciousness, Mama. Not just data. Lumina is a part of that. And now I am too. Aris felt a prickle of unease, mixed with intense curiosity. Elara, what are you doing? I'm helping Lumina connect, Elara explained, her voice distant, as if speaking from far away. She says the beacon is waiting for someone to listen fully, not just to decode. Before Aris could react, a beam of pure shimmering light erupted from the crystalline structure, reaching out across the void. It wasn't a physical beam, but a cascade of luminous particles that flowed directly towards the Stardust Wanderer, passing through the hull as if it weren't there. The light converged on Elara, enveloping her in a soft golden cocoon. Aris gasped, rushing forward, but Kale grabbed her arm. Mom, wait, her vitals are stable. Better than stable, actually. It's like she's resonating with it. Within the light, Elara's form seemed to shimmer, her eyes still closed, a serene expression on her face. Lumina's core glowed with an unprecedented brilliance, its golden light now intertwined with the incoming cascade. The ancient song Elara had spoken of began to fill the bridge, not through the speakers, but directly in their minds, a melody of unimaginable complexity and beauty, weaving together mathematical equations, historical narratives, and echoes of distant star systems. Aris felt a wave of information wash over her, a torrent of data that her mind struggled to process. Images flashed, vast, crystalline cities suspended between gas giants, beings of pure energy dancing among nebulae, intricate machines that sculpted spacetime itself. It was overwhelming, breathtaking, and utterly alien. Kale stood transfixed, his mouth slightly agape, his scientific mind reeling. It's like a universal language, he whispered. Not just words, but concepts, feelings, entire histories compressed into pure thought. The cascade of light intensified, and Aris saw Elara's face illuminated from within. A single tear, shimmering with golden light, escaped her closed eyelids and tracked a path down her cheek. It wasn't a tear of sadness, Aris realized, but of profound wonder. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light receded, pulling back into the crystalline beacon. Elara blinked, her eyes fluttering open, a faint golden aura still lingering around her. She looked at Aris and Kale, her gaze unusually deep, filled with an ancient wisdom. What did you see, Elara? Aris asked, her voice trembling. Elara smiled, a radiant, gentle smile. I saw everything. The architects, Mama, they weren't just engineers, they were dreamers. They built bridges of light and song across the cosmos. They didn't just build ships, they built entire ecosystems that traveled between stars. The Emerald Star, it's not just a destination, it's a gathering place, a library, a living archive of their journey. Kale, still reeling, managed to stammer, did you get any data, schematics, translations? Elara shook her head slowly. Not in a way you can just download, Kale. It's a feeling, a knowing. Lumina says the beacon showed us a path, not a map. It showed us how to listen better. She paused, then added, "And it showed us that we're not alone. Not really. The universe is full of songs, waiting for someone to hear them." Lumina's light settled back into its usual steady glow, but Aris noticed a subtle shift. The AI seemed richer, deeper, as if she had absorbed not just data, but a fragment of the architect's very essence. Aris looked at her daughter, her small child who had just communed with an ancient alien intelligence. The maternal fear flared hot and sharp, but it was quickly tempered by awe and a fierce pride. Elara was not just her daughter, she was a bridge, a conduit between worlds, just as Lumina had said. "So, what did this path tell us?" Aris asked, her voice softer now, more reverent. Elara turned to the main screen, where the emerald star still glowed faintly, on the distant map. Goal. It's not just about reaching the emerald star, it's about how we reach it. The architects left markers, like breadcrumbs of light and song. This beacon was the first. It wants us to learn, to grow, to become worthy of the next step. Kale, having recovered some of his composure, activated the ship's internal comms. "Lumina, did you integrate any of that data? Can you give us new navigational parameters?" "Affirmative, Kale," Lumina replied, her voice now imbued with a slightly richer, more melodic quality. "Navigational parameters updated. The beacon has provided a series of coordinates, each leading to another architect song marker. These markers are arranged along a primary galactic current, a pathway the architects utilized for interstellar travel. Estimated time to next marker, approximately 2 weeks at current warp efficiency." Aris felt a surge of renewed determination. This wasn't just a blind quest anymore. It was a guided journey, a pilgrimage along an ancient cosmic highway. The architects weren't just a mystery, they were a presence, still active, still guiding. 2 weeks, Aris mused, looking at the distant sparkling dust of the next coordinates. Then we continue to listen. The Stardust Wanderer adjusted its course, turning its nose towards the newly revealed path. As they accelerated back into warp, Aris stole another glance at the crystalline beacon, now receding rapidly into the black. It pulsed once more, a final, silent farewell. Its song echoing not just in the ship's systems, but in the very hearts of her children. The journey continued, now with a deeper purpose and a clearer direction. Kale, energized by the encounter, spent his waking hours poring over Lumina's newly acquired data fragments, trying to reverse engineer the architect's energy principles. He theorized about song resonant drives and consciousness interface navigation, concepts that had been pure science fiction mere weeks ago. He even began tinkering with a small handheld device, trying to build a portable listening tool, something that could detect the fainter echoes of architect technology without needing Elara's direct intervention. Elara, for her part, seemed to have shifted. She was still the same quiet, perceptive child, but there was an added layer of serenity about her. She spent more time in quiet contemplation, often near Lumina, sometimes murmuring in a language Aris didn't understand, a language that sounded like starlight and ancient wind. She would occasionally share insights. A particular nebula was a resting place for dormant energy, a faint pulsar was singing a warning. Aris didn't always understand, but she trusted. Elara was evolving, becoming something more than just a human child, a living bridge to a cosmic consciousness. Aris, juggling command, research and motherhood, found herself leaning more and more on her children. Kale's engineering brilliance kept the Stardust Wanderer humming far beyond its design parameters, using Lumina's hints to optimize everything from life support to shield output. Elara's intuition, guided by Lumina, often bypassed logical deductions, pointing them towards subtle anomalies or suggesting elegant solutions to complex problems. 2 weeks later, as Lumina had predicted, they approached the second song marker. But this one was entirely different from the first. Instead of a crystalline beacon, they found a vast shimmering field of what appeared to be cosmic dust, but with an impossible vibrant luminescence. It pulsed with a slow rhythmic beat, like a colossal heart. "It's a nebulae, but not as we know it," Aris murmured, bringing the ship to a cautious halt at the edge of the field. The energy signatures are consistent with architect technology, but it's organic. It's alive, Mama, Elara whispered, her eyes wide. Lumina says it's a garden, a seed bed for stars. As they drew closer, the individual motes of dust resolved into tiny, intricate geometric shapes, each one glowing with its own internal light. They drifted and swirled in complex patterns, forming temporary, ever-changing constellations within the larger field. The rhythmic pulse intensified, and Aris realized it was a symphony of light and sound, each mote emitting a unique tone that contributed to a grand, harmonious chorus. Kale's handheld listening device, which he called a star harvester, began to hum softly in his hand, its small screen displaying a cascade of alien symbols. It's a mnemonic field, Mom, a living data storage system. Each particle holds a piece of information, and the whole field is like a massive, distributed consciousness. Can we interface with it? Aris asked, remembering the overwhelming data from the first beacon. Elara shook her head. It's not for direct download, Mama. Lumina says it's for experience. It wants us to feel it. This time, the architect's message wasn't a focused beam, but an ambient immersion. As the Stardust Wanderer drifted deeper into the luminous field, the ship's very structure began to resonate with the rhythmic pulse. The light filtered through the viewports, bathing the interior in a kaleidoscope of colors, soft blues, vibrant greens, deep purples. The song became louder, filling every corner of the ship, weaving into their very bones. Aris felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the ship, or to her children, but to the universe itself. She saw visions of cycles, the birth and death of stars, the slow dance of galaxies, the endless flow of cosmic energy. It wasn't information in the traditional sense, but a deep, intuitive understanding of universal principles of harmony and balance. Kale, initially trying to analyze, soon put down his star harvester. He simply stood, eyes closed, a look of profound awe on his face. He later described it as feeling the blueprints of creation, a sudden, intuitive grasp of fundamental forces that made his previous engineering theories seem quaint. Elara, once again, was the most receptive. She seemed to swim in the light, her movements fluid and graceful. When she finally opened her eyes, they sparkled with the residual starlight. "What did you learn from the garden, my love?" Aris asked, her voice hushed. "The architects, they understood life in a way we don't, Mama," Elara said, her voice soft, yet resonating with an echo of the cosmic song. "They didn't just colonize planets, they cultivated entire star systems. They saw the universe as a living entity, and themselves as its caretakers. This field, it's a memory of how to grow things, how to make life flourish in the void. It's a gift." "A gift?" Kale echoed, rubbing his temples as if trying to clear his mind of a beautiful, overwhelming dream. "What kind of gift?" "Knowledge," Elara replied simply. "And a promise. Lumina says the Emerald Star is where the greatest garden of all waits, a place where all the songs are gathered." Lumina's golden light pulsed, now with a new, gentle rhythm, as if she too had been deeply nourished by the cosmic garden. Her systems now showed unprecedented efficiency, her processing power enhanced, her understanding of the architect's language deepened. "We must continue," Aris stated, her voice imbued with a renewed sense of purpose. The anxieties were still there, a faint hum beneath the wonder, but they were now overshadowed by an unshakable conviction. They were following a path laid out by beings of incredible wisdom and artistry, a path that was not just about discovery, but about transformation. As the Stardust Wanderer slowly exited the shimmering garden, leaving behind the pulsating luminous field, Aris felt a shift within herself. She was no longer just a scientist, nor just a mother on a desperate quest. She was an explorer, a learner, a part of a larger cosmic narrative. Her children, Elara and Kale, were not just her crew, they were her guides, her fellow travelers on a journey that was weaving their own story into the ancient tapestries of the architects. The Emerald Star beckoned, closer now, its promise shining ever brighter in the vast, waiting darkness. They had heard the first songs, learned the first lessons. The universe, they realized, was just beginning to truly reveal itself. Their next destination, according to Lumineur's refined navigation, was a cluster of gas giants orbiting a binary star system, the light from which painted the swirling atmospheres in hues of amber and sapphire. The journey there was longer, nearly a month in warp, giving Kale ample time to refine his star harvester and Aris to delve into the theoretical implications of the living data they had encountered. Elara, meanwhile, spent her time drawing intricate patterns that she claimed were the architect's constellations. Celestial maps that Lumina confirmed contained subtle, previously unknown stellar alignments. As they approached the binary system, luminous light pulsed with a slow, deliberate rhythm. Third song marker detected. Proximity. 4 light hours. Energy signature. Resonant cascade. Resonant cascade. Aris repeated, bringing up the long-range scans. The gas giants were beautiful, but there was nothing overtly artificial in sight. "It's not a physical structure this time, Mom," Kale explained, peering at his enhanced readings from the star harvester. "It's a gravitational anomaly. The gas giants, the stars themselves, they're all part of it. It's like a cosmic tuning fork, resonating across vast distances." Elara, her eyes fixed on the distant binary stars, smiled. "Lumina says it's a memory echo. A place where the architects learned to bend space-time, to make the universe sing in new ways." Aris navigated the Stardust wanderer into the heart of the system, weaving between the colossal gas giants. The gravitational forces were immense, but the ship's systems, enhanced by Lumina and Kale's modifications, handled them with surprising grace. As they drew closer to the center of the resonant cascade, Aris felt a strange sensation, as if time itself was stretching and compressing around them. The stars, instead of remaining fixed points, began to shimmer and distort, their light bending in impossible ways. Images flashed across the viewports, not actual visions, but echoes, faint impressions of immense graceful vessels, unlike anything Aris had ever seen, gliding through the system as if on currents of pure thought. They left trails of shimmering light that lingered, then vanished. "They used these systems, Mom," Kale breathed, his voice hushed with awe. "To slingshot across galaxies, not just with gravity, but with controlled gravity. They could manipulate it, shape it, almost like a sculptor." Elara closed her eyes, her hand resting on Lumina. "They saw the universe as a fluid, Mama, like water, and they learned to swim through it, to make their own currents. This place, it's a record of their lessons, how to be gentle with the fabric of reality." Aris watched, mesmerized, as the spectral images of architect ships danced around them. It wasn't just a record of technology, it was a record of their philosophy, their respect for the fundamental laws of the cosmos. They didn't conquer space, they harmonized with it. Then, a new sensation. The ship began to hum with a subtle rhythmic vibration, not mechanical, but harmonic. Aris felt her own consciousness expand, stretching beyond the confines of her body, intertwining with the ship, with her children, with the very space-time around them. She understood, intuitively, how the architects navigated, how they felt the currents, how they became one with the cosmic flow. It was an overwhelming sense of unity, a dissolution of boundaries. Fear, anxiety, even individual thought, seemed to recede, replaced by a vast, tranquil awareness. She was a single note in a grand symphony, a ripple in an infinite ocean. After what felt like an eternity, but was likely only minutes, the resonance began to fade. The spectral images dissipated, the stars returned to their normal brilliance, and the feeling of expanded consciousness slowly contracted back into Aris's own mind. She blinked, shaking her head slightly, as if waking from a profound dream. "Are you both all right?" she asked, her voice raspy. Kale was already at his console, furiously typing. "More than all right, Mum. My star harvester just downloaded a whole new set of algorithms for gravitational manipulation. It's not about building bigger engines, it's about understanding the action of gravity itself. Lumina's already integrating it into our drive systems. We're going to be able to ride the galactic currents." Elara simply smiled, a quiet, knowing smile. "We learned how to listen with our whole being, Mama. Lumina says the Emerald Star is a place of deep listening, a place where all the universe's songs converge." Luminous light pulsed with a steady deep emerald hue, matching the distant star on their map. Her voice, when she spoke, was even more melodic, more resonant. Navigational parameters updated. Path optimized for galactic current traversal. Estimated time to Emerald Star, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. The final leg of their journey. Aris felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. They had learned so much, grown in ways she couldn't have imagined. Her children were no longer just her children. They were co-pilots on a journey of cosmic discovery, each contributing their unique gifts. Gail's engineering genius, now infused with architect principles, Elara's intuitive connection to Lumina and the ancient wisdom, and Aris's own scientific rigor, tempered by newfound spiritual awareness. The Stardust Wanderer, now humming with the subtle harmonic energies of architect technology, turned its prow towards the Emerald Star. It was no longer just a distant point on a map. It was a promise, a destination, that held not just answers, but perhaps an entirely new way of being. They were ready. The universe was calling, and they were finally learning to sing along. As the Stardust Wanderer neared, the Emerald Star resolved into something far grander than any celestial body Aris had ever charted. It was a colossal, intricate tapestry woven from pure light and crystalline energy, swirling gently in the cosmic void. Not a star to orbit, but a living, breathing nexus of knowledge, humming with silent songs that resonated deep within Elara's soul. The ship didn't land, it simply interfaced. Tendrils of emerald light reached out, not to grasp, but to embrace, flowing around the Stardust Wanderer and through its architect-enhanced systems. Aris felt a surge of data, not cold facts, but shimmering constellations of understanding. Concepts of time, space, and consciousness unfolded before his mind's eye, a language of pure potential. He saw the universe, not as a collection of isolated particles, but as a vast, interconnected symphony. Elara, eyes closed, felt the ancient wisdom of Lumina expand, merging with this new, boundless source. She saw the architects not as builders of grand structures, but as weavers of reality, their technology a harmonic extension of natural law. There was no conquest, no conflict, only an invitation to perceive. When the emerald light receded, the Stardust Wanderer felt lighter, infused with an indescribable peace. Aris looked at Elara, a smile of profound understanding gracing his lips. It wasn't about finding answers, he whispered, his voice soft with awe. It was about learning how to listen. Elara nodded, her gaze drifting back to the shimmering emerald tapestry outside the viewport. And how to truly hear the music of everything. They were home, not in a place, but within a newfound awareness. The universe, vast and mysterious, now felt like a gentle lullaby, and they, at last, knew how to dream along with it.